Good morning, students. We are now coming to the end of online teaching on mathematics Ss2 for this period. And our last topic today is the measure of dispersion of ungrouped data. Remember, my name still remains Okafon and Patrick. So, and what is the measure of this dispersion? We equally call it measure of variability. And what is the meaning of that? From the introduction, we say these are quantities which are far from the center. That is from the mean. They are far from the mean. And this includes range, mean deviation, standard deviation, and variance. And let's pick the range. And what is this range? It's the difference between the highest and the lowest score in a given data, which we shall explain. Then the second one is mean deviation. As the name suggests, is the deviation from mean, and the formula is given by the summation of the absolute value. What is this line stands for? These two lines you are seeing, these vertical lines you are seeing, it converts the negative to positive, which are C, and divided by the number of items, that is the formula. Or with frequency, you find that the summation of the frequency into that absolute value. This is absolute value. Remember, it's not the bracket. This is absolute value divided by the sum of f. And the last one is the standard deviation, which, as the name implies, the square root of the average of the product of the frequency and the square of the difference between an item and the mean of a given data, which is explained here. The square root of sum of the difference between the score and the mean, all square divided by n, and it's quite different from mean deviation. You find that the difference between them is the square, which we have added here, and also the square root, which we shall see. So if you expand this, you are going to obtain this. And with frequency, you have this, which the difference of this is what we regarded as d squared, which we shall see. Then let's look at an example. Here the example says, find the range, the mean deviation on the following score, hence otherwise find the variance. What does that imply? That we are giving score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to add the score. When you now add it, you divide by n, that gives you the mean. That is 15 divided by 5, which gives you 3. So you now subtract each of the score from that mean. And that's happened. 1 minus 3 will give you minus 2, 2 minus 3 will give you minus 3 minus 3 will give you 0, 4 minus 3 gives you 1, and 5 minus 3 gives you 2. Then what happened? Those two lines, I told you what is their function. To convert the negative to positive. So this minus 2 becomes 2, this minus 1 becomes 1, 0 remains 0, 1 remains 1, 2 remains 1. So when you now add all, looking at the formula, at the beginning, when you add all, it will give you 6. In that case, if you now divide 6 by 5, it will give you 1.2. Divide, because there are 5 items, and that gives you 1.2. Likewise, the range, which is the highest score, is 5, and the lowest score is 1. 5 minus 1, 4, gives you the range. Then we can, using this, to explain the concept of variance. And variance is a square of the standard deviation. If you remove the square root, it becomes square of the standard deviation, gives you variance. So in that case, those scores we have obtained previously for mean deviation, if we now square it, if you square 2, gives you 4. If you square 1, gives you, square that, gives you 0. Square 1 gives you 1, square 2. And then you add all. That is the meaning of the summation you are seeing. And when you now add all, that gives you 10. And if you divide that 10 by 5, gives you 2. So in that case, the standard deviation is 2. While the variance is 2, while the standard deviation is the square root of that value, which will give you 1.414, or square root of 2, as the case may be. So in subsequent time, we are going to look at more exercises on this. But based on the note I've given to you, I would like you to go through it. If you have a question, you ask me through my WhatsApp number. Thank you very much, and happy stay.